Welcome to Dating Deja Vu, the podcast where we talk about your patterns, your pitfalls, and your personal growth in modern dating. I'm your host, Christina Hathaway, marriage and family therapist and dating and relationship expert. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about how to manifest a partner. Yes, we are getting spiritual-ish. So if your love life looks a lot of bit of the same thing over and over again, it might be deja vu, but it also might be you. So let's figure it out together. What's up, Deja Crew? Welcome back to another amazing episode of Dating Deja Vu. This show here is going to talk about manifestation, right? We're talking manifesting, but not the kind of Pinterest board, journal 10 times a day kind of manifestation, even though I am going to bring up some of that stuff. Today, we're talking about what it takes to actually kind of manifest a partner, okay? Why you might be accidentally manifesting yourself out of a partner or manifesting yourself into the same unavailable partner, and how to decipher between the two. So if we're starting to see a pattern, of course, of I keep calling in these people who breadcrumb me, who ghost me, who can't meet me emotionally, then this is for you. So I want to start off with, I have manifested my husband. And if you're not watching on YouTube, I have this little purple book and it says Brilliant Thoughts. And when I was going through my own spiritual and healing journey, for those of you who haven't heard the story, I had a lot of trauma in my childhood, which ultimately resulted in me being a strong caretaker in relationships. So I naturally gravitated towards men who needed me to help them, who needed me to caretake them. And the problem is that my identity of a caretaker came out of my needs not being met in childhood. It was a coping mechanism. It was a safety mechanism. And so I got in these relationships and attracted people I had to take care of, even though really what I wanted was to be taken care of. So then I would get very resentful for them, or I would try to change them into the person that I wanted them to become, and they wouldn't. So again, resentment grew and grew and grew. I was very mean. I was very nasty, and relationships ended. So I had to figure out, again, I said to myself, this isn't deja vu. It's you, boo. So I obviously had to fix my shit. So I went through this process, and a part of it was going into therapy. And then, yes, therapists go to therapy. And then I went through this whole kind of your traditional manifesting journey. So I do believe in this, but I want to really help you understand from what I know psychologically and spiritually, because they are very similar. So this is from March 31st of 2015. Now, my husband and I met in July of 2014. We dated for 4 months, broke up right before Halloween. Can't say we broke things off because we weren't in a committed relationship. Said I wouldn't talk to him again. Ran into him in January 17th to be exact, because it was my best friend's birthday, and started dating again in February. So this is about almost 3 months out. And I would write these intentions as if they already started. So like, my feelings for Mark continue to grow. My trust continues to increase, and our connection continues to progress. So I would start saying these things like they are true, but also like almost like being grateful for what I hadn't like I had what wasn't there yet. The other thing I did is, at the time I was dating 2 guys, and I started just doing these pros and cons lists, which is funny. And I like crossed out the other guy. These are hilarious. So I would just write these things that like spend all day with Mark. This is April 27th. Let's see. Spend the greater majority of the weekend with Mark. Sounds so dumb. Mark will continue growing in a positive way, growing all of his feelings for me in a positive way, blah, blah, blah. So I would write it down. I wrote literally so many things in here. I wrote like here we go. Signed the name Christina Hathaway. I know this is so cringe when I'm reading it. He would be on my gratitude list. I wrote, I love you because he hadn't told me he loved me yet, blah, blah, blah. So I do believe in the spiritual part of this because I've got this ring and I've been married. However, we're going to get it out of the way, right? Manifesting a partner doesn't just come from scripting. Scripting is specifically like his height, his job, his income, his trauma history. Like it's like a Build-A-Bear workshop, right? Something that you kind of piece together. It's not about this like controlled thing. It's not about the fantasy of this person. Manifestation is not calling in a man, but it's clearing out the patterns that keep calling in the wrong ones. Okay. Let me elaborate on that. So what I mean is you don't attract what you want. You attract what you believe you're available for, right? So just like me, I wanted the guy who was educated, who was fit, who was charming, trustworthy, safe, gorgeous, all the things, right? But because what I was available for, because I have struggled with asking for help. I wasn't ready to be with somebody, as I've said many times, who didn't need me. I wasn't ready for that because that would mean I'd have no identity because my identity was as a caretaker. So deep down, I only attracted to me those caretakers, right? So I want you guys to be thinking about like, what are the thoughts I have about myself in relationships? Like when you're describing a breakup or you're describing, or maybe it's not even describing. Let's do this. When you broke up, what did you say about yourself? Or what thoughts did you have internally? That's what I want to know. That, something like I'm too much. I was too much. I shouldn't have said that. I always get left. I'm going to end up alone. I wasn't, I should have been there more. I should have, shooting all over yourself. Um, I should have tried harder. I should have chased him harder, right? These beliefs that you have, or it should be prettier, whatever. One of the other ones I hear often is I can't get in a relationship because I don't look like I'm too overweight, right? Or if I was skinnier, he wouldn't have left, right? If you believe that, then fuck that guy. Well, not if you believe that, you have to change that. But if that was true, think about it. Okay. Okay. Back to the show. You're manifesting what you reflect. Everything you say, you're manifesting those wounds, babe, not what you desire. This is how you end up with dating deja vu patterns. Okay. Again and again, over and over, deja vu. That's why when I created this, it's supposed to be like a spiral, like a infinity sign, but not with thorns. Anyway, you get it. If you're listening, I'm looking at the logo on the TV. So I want to explain a concept from your brain called the reticular activation system. And the reticular activation system is basically how our brain makes sense of the world. Because we as humans, if we took in all of the stimuli that was going on, we would be so overwhelmed. It would actually make us go insane, like go crazy. But we have a reticular activation system that basically searches for the familiar. And what that means is that the familiar is what we're telling the brain to search for. So example, I just bought a new car. And funny, this doesn't really apply, but I'm looking for other people who have that car. Not a lot of people have the car I bought, which is kind of cool. And it's gorgeous. But you like when I bought my 4Runner 5 years ago, I saw a lot of other white 4Runners, right? It's that reticular activation system. But it's not just looking for cars. It's looking for what you say to it. So it's kind of like if I'm saying, so for me, like people need me, I take care of people. Like I'm a bleeding heart. Something I still say to myself. I am a bleeding heart. I hurt for people, but but now I know like when to help and when to back off. Right. So, I'm saying I'm a bleeding heart. I'm a bleeding heart. I take care of people. Like I'm such a good person. My brain's like, okay, great. I'm going to look for those people and I'm going to find them for you. And you're going to get a relationship with them. Great. Can't wait. Don't want to be in a relationship with them. right? But that's why I keep telling my brain to look for. So it does. Okay. So it's not just your brain, it's also your body. Okay. So your body keeps the score. Your nervous system is wired for that stress, that unpredictability, right? Proving my worth through taking care of other people. Then calm, available, secure love is something that actually might feel foreign to your body, right? Because you're so used to that nervous system response. I was actually on the news recently and was talking about that, how, you know, our bodies don't know the difference between us just ruminating on this belief that I'm not good enough in a relationship versus a bear chasing us. Like it keeps us in that fight or flight. It feels like we are in a threatened state because we are just ruminating and it's causing us to increase cortisol, norepinephrine, and epinephrine. We are stuck in that state of being. So it's very hard if I'm constantly feeling in that, if I'm constantly feeling fight or flight, if I'm down back into what we call the parasympathetic nervous system or the calm, grounded, socially engaged part of my nervous system, that's going to feel very strange to me. So that means even if you say you want the consistency in a relationship, your system might chase those highs, the crumbs, the roller coasters. So now we have two parts, right? We have a reticular activation system who's scanning and looking for what I keep telling it. I only am as good as I can. I'm only as good as who I can take care of. My nervous system is like, well, yeah, you've got to take care of people because until you take care of someone, like you're not good enough. And that's a threat to your survival. So go find it, run, flight, right? Flight towards it. And again, through both of those things, that is keeping me attracting the same thing. And boom, here we are back to the same type of guy. So, how did I move from that into true manifestation? Well, manifesting a partner looks like this: becoming emotionally available to yourself first. I cannot say this, I say this a lot here. If you do not know how the feeling of love feels inside your body because of yourself, then you will never be able to experience it in someone else. You will either guess what love is or assign certain meanings to be love, or you will push it away because it feels so foreign to you. Or what most people do is they seek that chaos, that unpredictability. They seek the, people pleasing, and they call that love, right? So, in effort to manifest the partner that you want, you need to be emotionally available first. This brings me to a point I talked about on TikTok. There was a gal talking about how she spent $10,000 on her dating coach. She hadn't been in a date in 2 years. She spent $10,000 in a year on a dating coach, and a year later is now engaged to be married. Everyone gave her shit about how much money she spent. I went on and said, well, technically, if you work with a specialist as a therapist, you're paying anywhere from $150 to $300 per session. I'm going to give you a little side note. Therapists don't want to do insurance red tape, especially specialists. So there's that. For me, I charge around that rate for my coaching services. There's different packages where I have like a reoccurring payment. If you pay in full, it's discounted. But if you want to have like a 6 package deal, yeah, we're paying somewhere around there. Okay. So people were giving her so much shit and they're like, oh, I wouldn't pay that amount for a man. And I also said on my little stitch with this video was like, she wasn't paying to have the man. She was paying to fall in love with herself, which is exactly what I'm talking about. Being emotionally available to herself. She had to understand her holes, HOLES, right? Her holes. So she could become whole herself. She had to know the patterns that she was going through so she didn't pick the same type of partner. She hadn't been on a date in 2 years. So I'm guessing she either had these like really high standards or she just didn't make herself available. I'm working with a client right now who I had her sit down and say like, well, where is your headspace going each day? And she's someone whose family, like, she is the family rescuer. Like, she is the solution giver to everything. So everyone in her family's calling her. She has this really demanding job. She has a really demanding boss. And she's like, I don't understand why I'm not dating. I'm like, well, when were you going to do it? In your sleep? Right. So knowing your patterns, right? Understanding, okay, what is it that's keeping me from picking partners or picking the same partner? Uh, then being able to regulate your nervous system so love doesn't feel so exhausting, love doesn't feel so threatening. So back to my client who doesn't have time, I told her, I go, you don't have the headspace to love. Love is exhausting to you because everyone that you love just takes and takes and takes from you. And because that's true and because that's your reality in your head, oftentimes we attract to us what we are saying, right? Because that reticular activation system. So she would attract to her men that are exhausting. Whereas what I'm trying to do is show her how to set boundaries so that she can protect her own peace, so that she can do this work. And then once she's ready, have that space for herself. And then through more boundary management, create space to allow someone else in. The next thing is dropping the fantasy, right? And having a very clear, real, and mutual energy around dating. When I was dating after I had done my work, and this is literally the work that I did on myself, because I was manifesting, because I had this gratitude for my life, because I was doing the work internally. Because remember, we're talking about the spiritual of like writing it down, visualizing it, knowing it's true for you, knowing that's what you want and you deserve that. Knowing, with manifesting, it's really about like believing that what your brain can think can become. And that concept can feel very woo woo to people, but until you do it, you'll never find out. Right. And you've got to kind of give it some time. So I knew I wanted a partner. I knew that I deserved that. And that right there, you guys, was the change that I made. Because before, again, reticular activation system, I would say, I'm not good enough. Why is everyone else in a relationship? So what did I do? I saw more of that. Whereas when I began doing this work on myself, having gratitude for my current life, feeling loved in my life, having appreciation for my life, when I was able to do that, then I was able to really have this real understanding of what a relationship would feel like. And more importantly, it helped me recognize when, like, Mark and I broke up, I didn't make it about me because my belief, remember, it wasn't those negative things anymore. It was, I deserve a relationship. I will find my person. And Mark leaving is just a sign that he is not the person for me. Right. And I went on. The last one is living like the version of you who knows she's worthy of the partnership. So, no hustle required, no being perfect, none of that. Exactly what I did. I knew I was deserving. And if something didn't work out, a date didn't go well, if I kissed 75,000 frogs, I was going to be okay because I didn't need a man. I wanted to be in a relationship. So let's talk about signs that we're ready to manifest that shit. You know you're truly ready to manifest when you stop romanticizing the potential. Okay. Remember, we're dating the person in front of us. Stop chasing clarity and wait for consistency. Consistency is key. If we're trying to like get clarity of the relationship, then that's a problem. You're willing to be alone rather than abandon yourself. So that's, like I said, I could kiss 75,000 frogs. I probably want to kiss them all, but you know what I mean? Date 75 frogs. And I'm not going to abandon what I believe about myself, which is I deserve my person because there's a frog in front of me that could be a potential date, but that's or a partner. That's abandoning myself. Or stop calling chaos chemistry. There it is. I know you're waiting for me to say it today. And start choosing ourselves, like trusting ourselves rather than finding ourselves as something that lacks or is scarce. Trusting who we are. That's the energy, you guys. That is the shift. One other thing I would add that I didn't put in my notes today is like having gratitude for your life every day without a partner. Living in that, I have this amazing life. Look at, I have a beautiful home. I have a beautiful job. I have wonderful friends. I have people that love me and care about me. Have gratitude for the people who love and care about you now. It might just be a few people. I shouldn't say it might just. It is a few people or more. And that's wonderful. There are people who care and love about you. Be grateful for that because you're living in an attitude of gratitude. You're living in, wow, look at the love that I receive. My dog loves me. I love me. My freaking mailman loves me. My parents love me. I'm loved. Think about how different that reticular activation system is going to react to that message. Damn, I'm so good at this. Okay. The universe isn't ignoring you, right? You're just still filtering love through your wounds, right? But when you heal the filter, right? You heal the little reticular activation system. When you meet your own needs, of course, you validate your worth and you stop tolerating less than you want. You can become unavailable to what's not meant for you and finally available for love that is. Love it. Love it. If you're like, oh my God, this is me and my best friend, please send her this episode or him this episode. This is probably one of the most important episodes I've done thus far. If you love this information, I'd love for you to share. Comment if you're on YouTube or Spotify. If you're on Apple Podcasts, we'd love a 5-star rating and review. Reviews everywhere is wonderful. Give me that thumbs up. Put that subscribe on. Put those notifications on or follow us. That helps us get in the algorithm. Remember, the more people hear this podcast, the better off you're going to be because you might be on a date with someone who listens to this podcast. So get this shit out of there. Also, if you're interested in coaching with me, you'll find the Clarity Call link in the show notes below. It might be that you're not manifesting the right way. It might be deja vu, but as you learned, it also might be you. Talk to you next time.